board will continue to meet virtually. We ask folks who are here with us live to ensure that all cell phones and electronic devices are turned off or at a minimum put on silent so you do not disrupt today's proceedings. For those online, the chair will recognize you when it's your turn and opportunity to speak. We ask that you speak clearly, unmute yourself, and state your name as well as the organization that you are calling from. At this time, I would ask our amazing clerk, Ms. Celeste Amato, for any corrections, additions, and noted abstentions to today's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning, everyone. This morning, we have the following changes and corrections to note. Item SB 23-12177, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, University of Baltimore Community Violence Intervention Certificate Program. Under amount of money and source, please delete $134,433 and insert $100,000 from account 5000 GRT 000852. CCA 000521, SC 630051, and $34,433 from account 1001 CCA 000518, SC 610109. We have no protests to note this morning. We have one withdrawal to note this morning. Item SB 23-12364, Department of Real Estate Tax Sale Assignment. This item is being withdrawn by the agency. We have the following items that will be on the non-routine agenda this morning on page 48. SB 23-12413, Law Department Settlement Agreement and Release. Page 60, SB 23-12177, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, University of Baltimore Community Violence Intervention Certificate Program. Page 88, SB 23-12444, DPW Modified Administrative Order on Consent Decree with Environmental Protection Agency. And on pages 94 through 95, SB 23-12481, DPW Claims Resolution Agreement for Spinello Companies under Sanitary Contract Number 910, Improvements to the Sanitary Sewer Collection System in the Herring Run Sewer Shed Part 2 Chinquapin Run. We have the following abstentions to note this morning. The Honorable Mayor Brandon Scott is abstaining on page 13. SB 23-10951, Health Department, Ratification, Johns Hopkins University Outpatient Ambulatory Health Services. On page 20, SB 23-10956, Health Department, Ratification, Provider Agreement, Johns Hopkins University, Harriet Lane. Page 24, SB 23-10954, Health Department Ratification Provider Agreement, Johns Hopkins University, Harriet Lane, excuse me. Page 25, SB 23-11774, Health Department, Johns Hopkins Mental Health. Page 29, SB 23-11275, Health Department, Ratification, Johns Hopkins University, Division of Infectious Disease Ending the HIV Epidemic in the United States, TB and HIV Services. And on page 31, SB 23-11618, Health Department, Johns Hopkins University, Bartlett Specialty Practice, Ryan White State Special Medical Transportation. The Honorable President Nick Mosby has no abstentions this morning. The Honorable Comptroller Bill Henry has abstentions as follows. SB 23-12403, ERS Travel Request. SB 23-12404, ERS Travel Request. SB 23-12333, Law Department Travel Request. SB 23-12408, Law Department Travel Request. SB 23-12342, DPW Travel Request. SB 23-12343, DPW Travel Request. The City Solicitor, Ebony Thompson, has the following abstentions to note. SB 23-12333, Law Department Travel Request, and SB 23-12408, Law Department Travel Request. The Director of Public Works, congratulations, Mr. Richard Luna, has no abstentions to note this morning. And Mr. President, that concludes our opening statement for this morning.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. At this time, I'll call for a motion to adopt the opening statement.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The opening statement has now been adopted. I now would like to direct the board's attention to a memorandum from my office dated July 17th, 2023, identifying matters to be considered as routine agenda items, together with any corrections, additions, abstentions, or no votes that's been noted by our clerk. I'll entertain a motion at this time to move forward the routine agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. The routine agenda has now been adopted. The first item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 48, SB 2312413, Law Department. The request is to approve settlement and release with Erie Insurance as a subrogee of Nerman Mahal. At this time, as representation for the Law Department, we have Deputy Solicitor, Mr. Stephen Salisbury. He's going to walk us through this item. At this time, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Council President, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Comptroller, members of the board. This event involves a subrogation claim. So this was an accident that occurred, and this claim is just to pay for the damage to the vehicle to the insurance company for the driver. Of the vehicle that was damaged. On September 29th, 2022, the intersection of Russell Street and Hamburg Street, a Baltimore City fire truck was traveling southbound on Russell Street. This is right next to M&T Bank Stadium. Returning to the station, the city vehicle was traveling eastbound on Hamburg Street in violation of the no left turn signal. So the claimant's vehicle was traveling northbound on Russell Street towards the MLK ramp. The city driver made an illegal left turn and crashed into the claimant's vehicle, totaling the vehicle. The vehicle was deemed a total loss. The insurance companies requested a reimbursement of $35,619. The way this comes in is the insurance company submits this claim to the city. We were not challenging liability in this matter, and so we request the board payment of the total amount of $35,619.
Thank you so much. At this time, are there any questions for the Law Department? Mr. Comptroller, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Morning.
Well, okay, so the first one, and this is a common question in these kind of situations, given that clearly the city was at fault in that the driver turned left where you can't turn left, what internal discipline did the driver receive for being the cause of this accident?
So the driver did have, and again, we've talked about this and the importance of sort of protecting, internal personnel disciplinary records, but there was disciplinary action taken, including a point being added to their record and a one-day suspension.
A point being added to their driver's record?
To their employee.
Oh, their employee driver.
Yes.
Driver's record.
Yes.
Do we know whether or not this accident was reported such that as a regular driver, they received any points on their regular? I mean, just like if I'm just driving down the street and I make a left where I can't make a left, and that's a moving violation, and I cause an accident, I assume that I get a point on my regular driver's record also.
We would have to talk to the department about that. I think, given that he was, the driver was, working in their capacity as a driver for the fire department. I don't know if that would have any. I can get back to you.
Okay. Let's see, I think the other question was, were there any surveillance mechanisms on the vehicle that captured the incident?
So there is no dash cam footage. We did speak to the fire department and learned that all the trucks, including this one, do have dash cameras. A number of them have had issues that they're undergoing maintenance, and the department is working through that right now. So there's not dash cam footage of this accident, even though this truck was outfitted with a drive cam.
Okay, so it has a camera, but you're not sure whether the issue is it was broken or it was just not turned on?
The information we have is that it was not working, and there's a number of cameras that have had maintenance issues that the department is working through right now.
Okay. I don't think my next question is for you. I'm trying to figure out if there's an official way. If we wanted to ask for the fire department to send the board a report of what the current status is of its dashboard cameras, how do we?
I think
We can do that.
just
We
address
can,
you?
we can
Okay.
work, we can work with the department and get that information for the board.
Okay.
So it's maybe next board meeting,
Yeah.
the comptroller's request.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Comptroller. At this time, are there any additional questions or concerns for the law department? Hearing and seeing none, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Thank you, Deputy Solicitor. The next item on the non-routine agenda can be found on page 60, SB 2312177, Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. This request is to approve the provider agreement with the University of Baltimore for creating and delivering a violence intervention certificate program for employees of the Safe Streets program. On behalf of MONSE, we have
Hi, good morning. Stephanie Mavronis, Interim Executive Director at the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. I'm also joined by Crystal Miller, who is our Community Violence Intervention Deputy Director at MONSE. Thank you, Honorable Board, for this opportunity to share some information. This is a contract with the University of Baltimore for the development of a Community Violence Intervention Certificate Program. This subrecipient agreement with UB Schaefer Center for Public Policy in the amount of $134,433 is for the purpose of curriculum development and program recruitment associated with this new certificate program. 74% of this funding comes from a $100,000 grant that came from the Bureau of Justice Assistance through the Governor's Office, and the remaining funding comes from MONSE general funds. As part of our 2022 internal evaluation of Safe Streets, we interviewed staff members around how the city can best support frontline community violence intervention workers. That report is public. Safe Streets staff requested additional training tracks to better fulfill their roles and responsibilities within the program model. They also expressed a desire to have more pathways to facilitate their own leadership development and career growth within and beyond the program. And so in line with the administration's commitment to this work, we set out to develop relationships with local academic institutions and partners to begin to create this training module. And that's for which we received this grant from BJA. As local experts, we engaged UB Schaefer Center for Public Policy to move this project forward. They expressed an interest in playing a role in supporting with academic programming community violence intervention work. And so as a next step in this work, this agreement is for the development, creation, and implementation of a mediation certification curriculum with the goal of ensuring that CVI and conflict mediation program staff will be able to participate in the UB Community Violence Intervention Certificate Program starting this fall. And so really the term of this goes between now and September, really looking to make recruitment a part of that as well. Part of this contract is also around needs assessment to inform program design, curriculum building, the creation of things like promotional materials, pre-launch, and the first phase of training will include 20 program participants. I'll also add, just in conclusion, that the value added by this agreement goes beyond these initial action items. Using the curriculum that we'll be creating through this contract with UB, we'll be looking to expand this opportunity to other interested parties after we successfully stand up this first phase. For example, we've heard from the local faith community that many faith leaders would be interested in getting a conflict mediation certification, particularly as we work to expand our CVI ecosystem. So really excited about this opportunity to partner and open to any questions you have.
Thank you, Madam Executive Director. Quick question, is this, will this eventually become a requirement for employment?
I'll let Crystal speak to that. I don't believe there's an intention to make it a requirement, but there's certainly an interest in making sure that we're creating career pathways. We don't want someone to feel like their only option is to be a frontline violence intervention worker forever. We know it's an extremely dangerous and at times traumatizing role, and so we want to make sure we're investing in those leadership development. But anything else you'd add, Crystal?
Thank you. I'll just add that this is part of the training trajectory that we've established for Safe Streets and other intervention program staff that are part of the CVI ecosystem, and allowing them the opportunity to grow and expand their their work experience and their careers, but also professionalizing the work that they're doing. So while it won't be a requirement, it is something that we will encourage all staff to participate in.
Thank you. And is this like a first of its kind, or are there other examples throughout the country where we have?
I believe that this is the first of its kind in our city. I think there may be a similar program at UDC in the nation's capital. We see some other kinds of conflict mediation type programs at different universities, but when it comes to community violence intervention in particular and looking at that gun violence angle, we believe we're on the cutting edge here as a city.
Thank you so much. At this time, are there any additional questions or concerns from members of the board? I see the hand raised of our solicitor. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much. Do you know if this program was developed with University of Baltimore? The city came to the University of Baltimore, University of Baltimore wanted to develop it around. How did we get here? Because I'm really interested in expanding programs like this where we're utilizing our institutions.
That's a great question. I think it was a little bit of both. I think that UB had an interest in getting engaged with community violence intervention work. They wanted to find a way to support with academic programming. I know that our former Gun Violence Prevention Associate Director engaged in some conversations with UB around local academic partners that might want to work with this population. We know part of the work here is not just around curriculum development, but also how we make sure, to Crystal's point, we're professionalizing the workforce. We're giving people different opportunities to learn who may not have been in traditional academic education at a higher level. And so all of those things are going to be about how we co-develop this with UB moving forward. Thank you.
Any additional questions or concerns? Hearing and seeing none, it's time the board will entertain motion to proceed.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. Thank you, Madam Executive Director and Crystal. At this time, we're going to move to our next item on the non-routine agenda. It can be found on page 88, SB 2312444, Department of Public Works. This request is to approve the consent decree modification of the Environmental Protection Agency. At this time, on behalf of DPW, we have
Good morning, Mr. City Council President, Mayor Scott, honorable members of the board. My name is Caitlin Rayhart, Assistant General Counsel for the Department of Public Works. With me also is Mr. Timothy Wolf, I believe, over there, the Chief of the Office of Engineering and Construction, in case anyone has any more technical questions.
Caitlin. Is this your first time presenting in front of the BOE?
It is.
Well, welcome. We always like to welcome new folks in front of us, so thank you.
So the city has been under a consent agreement to bring these uncovered reservoirs into compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act since 2010. This agreement represents a modification and extension of the deadline to complete the two outstanding projects, which are covering Ashburton Reservoir and Druid Lake Reservoir. EPA has granted an extension for Ashburton Reservoir until November 30th, 2023, and Druid Lake until December 30th, 2023. We expect that these projects are on track to meet those functional use deadlines, which would mean that we would no longer be using the uncovered reservoirs for drinking water, and we would only be using the underground tanks. In exchange for that extension, we've negotiated some additional conditions with EPA to include additional testing of our finished water, as well as increased monthly reports on the status of the projects, how they're moving along, and we'll be having monthly technical meetings with EPA to ensure that everyone's questions are answered and that we're moving together as partners in this endeavor.
That concludes your
That
presentation.
concludes my presentation, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you so much. At this time, are there any questions or concerns from members of the board? I see the hand raised of Comptroller Henry. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm optimistic, and I want to be positive about this. But should the worst happen, what penalties will the city face if we don't meet these deadlines?
Well, the agreement provides for modification in the event that there are circumstances outside of the control of DPW and its contractor. So we will be working, diligently to notify EPA of any projected potential delays and to extend the agreement. In the event that, we do go past the deadline and EPA has not granted an extension, there is a possibility of, a roughly $67,000 per day penalty. But that is up to the discretion of EPA. It's not a stipulated penalty, meaning that it doesn't accrue just because we missed the deadline. They will have to refer.
Consciously impose it.
Exactly.
Okay. It was more along the lines of, I didn't remember what was articulated in the agreement. And that is spelled out in the, I'm sorry, not agreement, the modified administrative order on consent.
It refers to them as potential penalties, not stipulated penalties. And we've had discussions with EPA where they've explained the process and how they would have to refer it to another office to be consciously imposed.
And the other question, and we did talk a little bit about this, but I just want to be clear for it. What exactly does finished mean for the purposes of the administrative order?
As far as the EPA is concerned, it's only functional use, so that would just be ceasing to use the uncovered reservoirs and disconnecting them from the water system and switching over to the underground tanks. The remainder of the project's restoration and completion of the parks would be after the fact.
So then my next question is probably for Tim, which is, let's say you're somebody from Baltimore and your idea of finished means you can actually walk around the lake. When are we looking to be able to actually walk around the lake?
I just did.
Yeah, see that, you feel it, all right.
Well, good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Mayor, and members of the council. We are projecting actually next summer, June of '24, to finish the park improvements. So
Okay.
working expeditiously to get that work done as well.
Okay, all right.
Does that include the amphitheater?
Pardon?
Does that include the amphitheater? That does not, right?
There's some improvements, like at Ashburton, there's an open amphitheater area.
The Druid Hill, that's.
Druid Hill,
It doesn't
there's,
include that, right?
there's an open area, but it's not a full amphitheater, because Brecken Parks has a big project that's following our work as well, so we're coordinating with them.
Okay,
Understood.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Tim, for your late black, don't leave yet. I think it's important for the residents and anybody in the water system to know that work on these projects never stopped. And could you talk about the delays and what happened to get the projects, quote unquote, off track?
Right. Yes. So some of the delays were unexpected site conditions. We had some unexpected rock that was harder than we expected, and we actually had to pivot to go to blasting versus ripping the rock out. There was also conditions of actually working within the Druid Lake project. We had to put a cofferdam, and we had some turbidity issues. There was COVID impacts as well, supply issues. So there was a multiple impact from this project that delayed it. Between the both of them, there are $250 million, and trying to expeditiously get this work done. So those were some of the major delays.
Thank you. And Mr. President, we'll make sure, because I know Director Moore and the team in Rec and Parks are probably more impatient than anyone around the Drew Hill Park Lake project, because they want to get started with the phases of the improvements.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or concerns from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is approved. The next item on, thank you so much. The next item on the non-routine agenda can be found on pages 94 and 95, SB 23122481, Department of Public Works. The request is to approve the claims resolution agreement with Spinello Companies for the construction of a new sanitary sewer collection system and a renovation and restoration of a portion of Herring Run sewer shed and Chinquapin Run stream. From the Department of Public Works, we have,
Good morning, Katie Brinson Hinton.
and your title.
I am the Acting Deputy General Counsel of Department of Public Works. Good morning to Mayor Scott, the Council President, and the Comptroller, and all of the honorable members of this board. We are here to seek board approval for the proposed claims resolution agreement, which was entered into pursuant to Section 007384 of Baltimore City's Department of Public Works specifications for material, highways, bridges, utilities, incidental structures, also known as the Green Book, which agreement settles disputed issues between DPW and Spinello Companies, which was the contractor for project SC 910. The total settlement amount sought for approval is $6,746,687.22. During this resolved litigation, the Department of Public Works, which I will refer to as DPW, and Spinello, we had credible arguments on both sides supporting claims and defenses. However, both parties reached a settlement in which Spinello agreed to accept approximately a little under $2.1 million less than what it initially claimed. Additionally, all interest claims were rejected as it was prohibited by our Baltimore City Code. The city reached this proposed settlement given the cost, the unpredictable nature of litigation, human resources, financial resources to be expended with an unpredictable result. I also have here our project manager for Project SC 910, which is Angela Cornish, and she's in the room today. A part of this claim resolution, as you all know, I can go into further detail for SC 910. It's essentially the sanitary sewer collection system for the Herring Run Sewer Shed Part 1 Trinquepin Run, and that included essentially rehabilitating the stream and the sewer line in that area, installing various sewers, closed-circuit TV, et cetera. That project is substantially finished with a few punch list items. During the course of the project, there were 10 approved change orders, which totaled $5,360,971.91. In addition to the prior approved change orders, 3 unexpected things happened in some: hard rock, substantially more hard rock, storm damage, and those needed to be broken down and excavated, which caused additional costs and additional claims, to which Spinello submitted claims approximately with claimed interest of well over $8 million. In April 26th and April 27th, a part of the Green Book claims process, the former director acted as the hearing officer. There were 2 days of settlement conferences to which the parties negotiated, put in their arguments, and we arrived at what we believe is an amicable yet efficient and beneficial compromise and agreement for the city, which importantly releases all further claims associated with SC 910.
Thank you, Madam Esquire. Does that complete your presentation?
Yes.
All right. Thank you for all the detail and information. One question, just to state for the record, the total settlement amount is what?
$6,746,687.22.
Thank you so much. At this time, are there any questions or concerns from members of the board? Ms. Comptroller, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning.
Good morning.
Again, this is one where I'm not 100% sure that this question is for you. It's a DPW question, but you may want to pass it on to one of your clients with specific technical expertise.
Ready.
But it basically what, it also came up in the previous item also when Tim mentioned that the rock was harder than you were expecting. It feels like this is a common concern, and I'm just wondering, is there some higher level of geotechnical testing that we could be doing in advance that would reduce the chances that we find ourselves in these kind of situations? And has anyone done, a cost-benefit analysis of would it be worthwhile to spend more on testing in advance and not have to, have these changes as a result when we get into the project?
Mr. Comptroller, I think you've been looking over my shoulder and stealing my notes. I was going to actually, and I think you're right on, ask DPW to come before the board to provide us with, I guess, best-in-class recommendation. We can't be the only municipality, city around the country that have these types of projects where we constantly see these overruns directly tied to Hard Rock. And I mean, DPW continues to present, and we see the overrun and project delays, but I don't know if there's a better way of doing it. So I totally agree with you. I'm not sure from a DPW perspective if someone's here that can kind of talk us and walk us through
Tim
that.
actually wants to come up and answer.
Yeah, Tim's been looking over your shoulder. He knew you were going to ask that. So Tim, the floor is yours.
Yes, good morning. Yes, yes, you're right. The competency of rock, hardness of rock, it's a challenge, and I'm always an advocate. More information during design is better. And, you could do borings every 500 feet, 1,000 feet. I think in this particular, you can never have enough because you have rock outcroppings and the geological area, this area, we're at the fault line, so you do run into some challenges. I'd say in this case, probably more borings would be better, and I'm a big advocate of doing that. Coming here to the city, I've always recommended to clients, the more information you have up front, the better off you're able to anticipate what you're going to deal with in construction. So in this case, probably not enough, but we're actually looking at our design and how we approach projects, and if we're going to space borings a little tighter so we can get better information. But rock competency, also it's testing, rippability, how strong it is, compressibility, and some of those tests sometimes are supportive of projects. And I know, change orders is key to our success. And I know in the last 7 years, the city's done like $2.6 billion, and our change order percentage is under 2%, which is better than the industry. Okay. And, I was pretty impressed with, coming here at the city 2 years ago, how tightly we hold our contracts. These were exceptions. I don't disagree with you. The more information would have been better, but in this case, we had to deal with the situation, get the job done. There was also some other extensive situations where we had some failing retaining walls during construction that we had to deal with that came up during construction. So, but I don't know if that answers your question.
Mr. Comptroller, the floor is still yours.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty consistent over the last 2.5 years. We don't need to dwell on what we should have done differently on this particular case, other than to make sure that we learned from it what we're going to do different next time.
Correct.
And so it's more along the lines of, okay, so, what is it? Hindsight is 2020. Hindsight is 2020, but now that we've seen that we should have done that, is it now part of your policy, or have you changed the specs for the next set of contracts to make certain that you do more borings?
Yes, I think the scrutiny of design, when we're in design, if we're going to have to do certain techniques like tunneling, it's important to have more information. Yeah. And I'm at, again, spend a little money up front will save you at the end. So we're definitely have an eye on the ball.
I think we're all supportive of that idea.
Okay.
Yeah. We never bid these jobs as design build jobs. They're always broken up.
Yeah, design bid build. Yes, we have done 2. Actually, we're getting ready to do the unbundling, which is kind of a hybrid. Yeah. And we did one project at the Headworks at Back River. Sometimes it depends on the type of project. Design builds may save you time, but it may not necessarily save you money.
Correct. So it's pros and cons on both sides.
Right, yeah, you have to look at each project.
All right. So is there, to the Comptroller's point, is there any additional information that DPW could bring back to the board about future projects or future approaches for this type of work?
Yeah, we could bring, we have design standards for projects. We're scoping with our consultants where we require spacing on borings or the type of rock or the geology in a certain area that we'd say, hey, we want to elevate the subsurface investigation.
So, Madam Clerk, if we could maybe in a month or two just schedule DPW to come before the board, present, quick, fast, kind of 30,000-foot information on the approach that you guys are taking. Any statistics or information that you have, I think the overrun 2% stat is something really interesting, something that we should be highlighting, so I appreciate that.
Okay. What did you say the project manager's name was?
Angela Cornish?
Angela, if you could stick around after the meeting, we just have an administrative issue we need to run by you in terms of how we execute this claims resolution agreement. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions or concerns from members of the board? Hearing and seeing none. I also think, Katie?
Yes.
Madam Esquire, this is your first time presenting in front of the board as well.
This is.
Well, welcome to the board. We like
Okay.
to, I wish we had some confetti and some.
I sense it, I feel it.
But on behalf of
Yes,
DGS.
but feel the love,
We'll be saving.
Yeah, BOE's budget is pretty short.
Give us Snickers,
Yeah.
though.
Here, you can give it to Caitlin.
That's nice, right?
In the interest of closing us out, we really appreciate you guys. At this time, the board will entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and probably second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. This item is now approved as there's no,
Oh.
yes,
I just have one quick little announcement.
Mr. Comptroller, the floor is yours.
Did you have something, Mr. Mayor? Okay. I just wanted to share with the board that this summer we have our first class of Comptrollers Fellows. The mayor met them last week, and they're here with us this morning. We have Adrian Hood, who is a junior financial economics major at UMBC. And Lauren Dyer, who is a sophomore psychology major at Frostburg State. And we are hoping to be able to expand the class in future summers.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome. As there's no new business before the board, we will adjourn. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Estimates will occur on Wednesday, August the 2nd at 9 a.m. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. Baltimore, we absolutely love you.
Hi, Charm TV, we're ready. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Estimates bid opening for July 19th, 2023. I'm Celeste Amato, Clerk of the Board of Estimates, and I'm joined by my awesome team who's opening a lot of big and bulky bids today. So thank you for being patient. It just took us a few extra minutes to make sure we were properly organized. Welcome to our live studio audience today. We hardly ever have this many people live. So up first, I'm going to share a few addenda that have been received and are affecting opening dates for the following. Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 000245, Baltimore City Building Demolition. This bid was originally due today and will now be opened on August 2nd, 2023. And for the Department of Finance, RFQ 000348, Integrated Vegetation Management Services. I think we need Department of Finance Bureau of Procurement for that one also. RFQ 000348, Integrated Vegetation Management Services. This bid will now be opened on August 2nd, 2023. Today we have 5 bids that we are actually opening. Some are multi-parts, so we'll be opening technicals, not prices, and some are the usual sum total bids. Up first is Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 000128, Management of Parking Garages, Group 1, 2, and 3. And my sheet doesn't say this is technical, but I believe this is just technicals, right? Okay. So what am I announcing?
Okay, so we have 3 bidders under this RFQ. First is LAZ Parking.
Got it?
LAZ Parking Mid-Atlantic LLC.
And that was LAZ Parking Mid-Atlantic LLC.
That is correct.
That's not what okay, wait a minute. Okay, hold on.
And up next, Abigail.
We have PMS Parking Incorporated.
Okay. And that was PMS Parking Incorporated. Again, that's a technical
This is
submission by
Mid-Atlantic.
PMS Parking Incorporated.
That is correct.
And up
Mid-Atlantic.
next,
And our final is, that's SP Plus Corporation, DBA SP Municipal Services.
and this is our final proposal, correct? For SP Plus Corporation, doing business as SP Plus Municipal Services. And I believe those were our only 3 submissions for RFQ 000128.
Hold on. Just 1 second. Let me put this to the side with attached.
Okay, up next, we have another bid for the Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 000322, firefighter dress and work uniforms.
So we have one proposal, it's F&F and A Jacobs and Sons Incorporated.
Hold on 1
And
second.
is there a total for this, or is this an itemized?
Okay, there should be a total.
There is a
Page
total.
38,
Yes.
B38.
Okay.
There is a total. It is $354,606.75.
So I'm going to repeat that back. That was 354,606.75.
That is correct.
Great. That was F&F and A Jacobs and Sons, Inc. for $354,606.75.
That's correct.
And that was our only bid, correct? For
That's correct.
RFQ 000322, firefighter dress and work uniforms. Up next, we have, I believe this is Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 000205, manage and operate food and beverage service for the Baltimore Convention Center.
Okay, and we have,
And are these totals?
That's RMO. Is it
these
not
seem to be
RMO?
technicals.
Okay, so are
That should
these
just,
technicals?
that's technical also.
Okay, I don't have that noted, so let me put that in here now. Okay, so we are receiving technical proposals today for RFQ 205. And up first, we received a proposal from,
Aramark, I will spell it out, ARAMARK.
got it, that proposal was from Aramark.
And they submitted a bid bond.
And there's a bid bond.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a bid bond.
Okay. And up next,
Next, we
Okay.
have Compass Group.
that proposal is from Compass Group. And is there a bid bond for that one?
Aramark. Okay. Yes, this one. Okay, this one has, it's this one. Hold on 1 second. This is a check. Okay, so hold on. I have to mute that because Compass Group, when we open the box, this is the company that's in the box. So we don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Right.
Um,
So this might have to go to,
Okay, so we do have a proposal. The box is marked Compass Group, but the internal company name is different. So we will refer this one to Law Department to just verify that these are one and the same, and then the item will be referred to the agency for review. And up next,
okay, hold on.
This is our final proposal. It's Volume Services Incorporated, DBA Sodexo Live.
okay, that was Volume Services, Inc., doing business as Sodexo Live. And that was the third of 3 proposals received for RFQ 000205, manage and operate food and beverage service for the Baltimore Convention Center.
And they do have a bid bond for the Volume Services Incorporated.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a note of that on the sheet.
Thank you.
And up next, we have a bid for the Department of Public Works, contract WC 1439. This is for repaving utility cuts and sidewalk restoration at various locations. I am guessing this will have a total.
Do I have a copy? Let me see. Okay. This has a bid bond, and there is a total.
And there is a total. Okay, so this is for Monumental Paving and Excavating Incorporated. And that total is $7,988,715.
I'm going to repeat that number back, 7,988,715.00.
That is correct.
With a bid bond.
And we have a bid bond, so noted. So that bid was from Monumental Paving and Excavating, Inc. for $7,988,715. And is that our only bid for this contract?
Yes.
So that was our only bid for contract WC 1439, repaving utility cuts and sidewalk restoration at various locations. And our final bid today is for the Bureau of Procurement, RFQ 000351, contract fabrication and welding services. And my sheet indicates that no bids were submitted. So we have no bids to share for RFQ 000351, fabrication and welding services. And that concludes our bid opening business for today. Our next bid opening is August 2nd, 2023.
Yeah.
And thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks, team.